Hi, my name is Stefan.
Hi, I'm Jonas. Today we'd like to talk about the Musical Soundscapes series.
And this episode is about the 7th album, Songs of the Sea.
Songs of the Sea opens in a great way. It opens with calls of horns and the humpback for the first time. The humpback call is now being featured for the first time in the Musical Soundscape series. And the horn calls that Stefan placed in the first track of the album mesh together with the very warm, almost maternal sounding humpback calls that are more like grunts actually. They're not these supersonic calls of the dolphins or the orcas. Very mammal, very warm sounding calls, and it sounds like you're on a BC ferry out in Vancouver, traveling from Vancouver to Vancouver Island. It's a trip that both you and I have done many, many times out west on the west coast of Canada, a beautiful location, and of course you can actually see orcas and humpbacks at times. The humpback population is actually now increasing, evidently 130,000.
That's good to hear.
So they're on the rise. And the incredible thing is about the humpback whale is that the humpback whale changes, or all of the whales change their songs from year to year. It's like a hit list. I remember being told that by
and different families have different sounds. That's quite
and they can be heard over kilometers, tens of kilometers, even hundreds of kilometers through the ocean, because the water, of course, carries and reverberates. So working with the humpback was, I think, in many ways, a lot easier, musically speaking, because it's a warm, and it's a long-drawn sound. It's not a supersonic, high emittance like the dolphins. They cut through all
carries you.
Yeah, it meshes well with musical production.
Yeah. As I mentioned in the episode on Dolphin Dance, which I thought was sort of a peak of the series, starting the engine up, the composing engine, and doing another album. This time it was the first time that it was a little more difficult for me, and I didn't feel like I was running out of steam exactly, but I had to find inspiration elsewhere. Before it was like, hey, we're doing a CD, that was enough motivation, but we had done several CDs, also other series of CDs, so there were plenty of CDs flying, and just doing a CD wasn't motivating enough anymore. So what could I do? And one thing that I always found a great inspiration is just sound. How does it sound? I'm not a gifted melody writer of any sorts, but I think I have something to contribute to the world of sound. I loved sculpting sound. And so I bought instruments I hadn't used before. I bought a hammered dulcimer. I bought a monochord. It has these lush washes of sound. They're all the strings tuned to the same pitch. Yeah. And so that pulled me along, and I had a new digital editing system. I know that there's one of the tracks here has this edited guitar solo that was never played that way. I just dabbled on the guitar and then later decided, well, how about if I put this blip over here and maybe this little doodle-dee over there, and sort of constructed the solo, and there was a way for me to just try new things. I always liked the cover. I thought it had this great, inspiring feeling, and
very nice.
I was happy when it came out. But yeah, I really had to pull myself up by the hamstrings to write more music.
Well, I guess I was maybe in that regard a little bit more constant, along with Dolphin Dance, that featured piano tracks, specifically 2 and 4, that became sort of favorites of mine and with fans. Was the same thing here with Songs of the Sea, side by side, the track number 2, and Yearning, track 4, which actually piano students of mine, I do a lot of teaching still, love to play. It's very accessible, and that also we combined that with rain and thunder, so it gave us this sort of northwest soundscape. And I think it lends itself very, very well to the humpback calls. Yearning I still play today. So those are my two favorites from the piano repertory on that album?
I have a favorite too. I think it's mine. It's the water dance. One thing that was really starting to get to me was these pads. You know, we had this synth pad just sort of sitting there, chords, synthetic chords. I was getting really weary of that, and I wanted a tighter sound, more like a poppy radio kind of. And with the water dance, the track, it has a very staccato drum machine and staccato picking guitar. I wanted short. I mean, there's a middle section that broadens out a bit, but mostly I was trying to get a
more transparent texture.
Something that you could get a grip on.
Yeah. No, and that's very true. I mean, the '90s was definitely the pad era. Especially that first half, and when the Core came out, the M1, and everybody was into pads. And now, of course, when you go back to a lot of those recordings, that also involves us. You see, God, that thing is just lying there like a dead whale.
Okay, well, fortunately we didn't have any dead whales on this track. So that's Songs of the Sea for you. Stay tuned for the next and the last episode, which will be
album number 8.
Album number 8, Sea of Dolphins.